and they seek to have experiences that they had while they're alive. They miss it. They're so bound to experience. They want to experience sex again. They want to experience food again. Usually pretty basic things, because they're pretty basic beings. That's why they're so low on the evolutionary scale. Okay? They want to experience the joy of destroying something. They're usually from that first spectrum I talked about before, those who enjoy destroying others. So entities come to people, they approach them in their dreams, and they make them all kind of promises. They promise them that they'll give them power, that they'll get them sexual partners, that they'll, do all these things. And they really don't have the power to do anything. They don't even have the power to be alive again. But they can see a certain amount because they're outside of the physical dimensional plane. So they might see that you're going to meet a beautiful woman or a beautiful man, or that you're going to be successful at something. And they will come to you in dreams, and they will tell you that this is going to happen because of them. And then when it happens, of course, you think that they helped you, and you listen to what they say. And when you listen to what they say, they gradually work their way into your thoughts. And after a while, you'll start thinking their thoughts, and you won't know that they're your thoughts, and soon you'll be fully possessed. Channeling is a practice that's very popular right now. All kinds of people are doing it, and Shirley MacLaine is writing about it. And it's very dangerous. It's a process in which you are opening yourself up to astral entities and inviting them to come into you, speak through you, and give you knowledge and power. Now, this is silly. Knowledge and power doesn't come from an entity. It comes from within oneself. And what can these things tell you? To put $5 on Snowflake in the third race? They can't give you anything. They can't really teach you anything because they don't have enough personal power. An enlightened teacher has personal power, and sitting and meditating with an enlightened teacher in a meditation hall or out at a place of power can change you forever. Because the teacher has so much power that when they meditate, when they stop their thoughts, a tremendous aura builds up around them, and that aura will open up your own aura. It'll increase it so that you will move into a higher plane of knowledge and see things you would have never seen and feel things that you would have never felt. And you will gain a new view of the world. Then when you're not with the teacher, this experience will fade naturally. But it will encourage you to pursue these experiences on your own. In other words, if I took you to Europe because I had enough money and you didn't, and if you really liked it there, once we came back, then you could go again on your own. You'd have to make the money. But obviously, if I've learned to make enough money to get there, I could also teach you how to make the money. So a teacher of knowledge and power shows you or gives you experiences in other dimensions. They show you that the universe is much bigger and much more fascinating than you had ever imagined. They don't do this with verbal descriptions. They're worthless. How can you describe the other worlds? They give you direct and immediate experiences in other realities. Then they teach you the things, of course, that they had to learn on the path of knowledge and power to be able to do that. They teach you how to make your life efficient, organized, and powerful, and fun, and happy. And how to learn and deal with the forces that abide in those other dimensions. Just as your parents taught you how to cross a street so you wouldn't get run over, things that were good to eat, things that you shouldn't eat, like the things under the kitchen sink, bleach, Drano. You learn the ropes of this world. You got a description of the world and you function through it, and you function obviously somewhat successfully. You're alive today. So in order to pass into the other dimensions, you really need to understand what's out there, the different beings, the different forces, good places to go, places to avoid, and so on. So a teacher of knowledge and power, which is the subject that I label mysticism, is able to provide the student with these experiences and to explain, of course, how to deal with these other worlds and other universes. I conduct a number of desert excursions, and on the desert excursions, of course, I expose people to these other dimensional planes out at the places of power. And I do it at other times too, sometimes just in a seminar. but particularly that type of education, the education in mysticism, occurs out in the places of power where it should. Most of the rest of the time I'm just teaching, Zen, enlightenment. Mysticism is certainly a part of the enlightenment experience, but it's a variant part. Enlightenment is a very big subject, and it has many component parts. One aspect of enlightenment is dealing with the different dimensional planes. So a person who seeks power usually goes into other dimensional planes to find it. And then they bring that power, once they network with it, back into this world, and they use it to enhance their life. Now, everybody goes into different dimensional planes. You do it every night when you go to sleep. Dreaming. When you dream, you're journeying into other dimensional planes. Dreams are not just functions of the cerebral cortex. Oh, no doubt some are. But there are dreams and then there's dreaming. Dreams are just the silly things that pass through your mind at night. Dreaming are out-of-the-body experiences where you are traveling through the different dimensions, most of which you don't remember. You meet beings, have conversations, have experiences, all kinds of things. So personal power is a feeling. It's a feeling that everybody is looking for, called satisfaction. It's different than enlightenment, but you need personal power to become enlightened. But personal power is not the end of the process. It's another step in it. It's a tool that you use to get someplace. It's like a car. It takes you someplace. The purpose of the car is not to live in the car. It's to drive you someplace you want to go. So power is an operative force. It's a component part of the universe. You need power to listen to me. The power of awareness. You need power to walk down the street. And we see power operating constantly in this world, because the particular dimensional plane that we're in is a plane of power. The beings who are here, who are incarnate on this planet, the vast majority of them are at the stage of the revolution, where power is the dominant theme. They're learning about power. That's why we live in a world where there are so many wars and so much destruction. Because people are gaining power over others and using that power to destroy anyone or anything that doesn't agree with their point of view. So this is an arena of power that we live in. So it behooves a person to know as much about personal power as they can, because anything that you want to do in life, if you want to be a winner, if you wish to be successful, you need power to do that, to accomplish anything. And there's a science of power, of course. And that's the science of Zen. How to gain control of your time, life, and mind. Where does personal power come from? Well, it's hard to say. Who knows where it comes from? Where does the wind come from? Where does the light come from? Or you could say the sun, where does the sun come from, and so on. But I do know, I can tell you, in words, it comes from, of course, the absolute reality, but I can tell you that there are places you can gain power, there are things you can do to gain power, and they're pretty simple and a great deal of fun. The place that you gain the most power is within your own mind. When you have the ability to stop thought, which is meditation, when you practice meditation and you become good at it, stopping thought generates power. That's why people meditate. The longer you can stop thought for, the more power you gain. That's the ultimate way to gain power. And even just the practice of meditation, which we call zazen in Zen, sitting, concentrating, doing concentration exercises to gain control of your thought and learn how to focus. That creates a lot of power. And then when you move to the next stage, which is not only being able to focus thought and say, focus on a candle flame for 15 minutes or a pretty colored rock or one point, a chakra, something like that. When you move to the next step, which is not just to focus, but then to stop thought completely without having to focus, you gain a tremendous amount of personal power. It comes into your life. It's like a bank account. You have an inner bank account, and there's a certain amount of power in it. If you lead a sloppy life, if you indulge in your emotions, if you're always upset and freaked out, if you're stressful all of the time, if you're not happy, you're wasting power, and your power level will get very low. When your power level gets low, it's dangerous. Your mind doesn't function clearly, you make mistakes. And if your power level gets low enough, you'll die. You'll get in a car accident, you'll pick up a disease. That's why it's very, very important to keep your power level high, just to be a happy human being, let alone a human being who's seeking to develop their mind and enter into other dimensional planes and gain self-knowledge. Someone who really wants to unfold and see what they're all about and discover themselves has to be particularly careful about the use and abuse of power. But even your average human being, just passing through another lifetime, has to be careful, because when your power level gets too low, you die. So it's important to keep your power level as high as possible, to survive, to be happy, let alone, again, to truly gain control of your time, life, and mind, to become enlightened and free and filled with knowledge. So a great deal of time then is given in Zen to considering where you lose power, not just where you gain it. You gain it through practicing Zazen, meditation and concentration. You gain power by doing anything that you like that makes you feel good. You gain power by being happy. You gain power by going to places of power. There are certain places in the earth. The earth is alive. And there are places on the earth that are very powerful. Again, it might look like one piece of ground, which doesn't look necessarily so different than another piece of ground 500 yards away, but some places have more power than others. Meaning that on a second level or a third level, on another dimensional level, there's an interfacing dimension there where there's a crossover point between dimensions, and a tremendous amount of energy is passing back and forth. When you go to such a place, if you're receptive, if you're able to quiet your thoughts and concentrate, a lot of that power can enter into you. Conversely, there are places that are very draining. There are places where there's another dimensional crossover, but to a dimension that's not powerful at all. And at these crossover points, there are a lot of beings, non-physical beings, that cross over back and forth constantly. And if you go to a place of power, the beings, they're higher, magnificent beings of light. They're not from our world necessarily, but they pass through it. A place where the dimensions touch, where there are many worlds present. If you go to another place, a lower crossover point, a negative place of power, then the beings there are very unevolved, very demonic, crazy, lower than the people in this world. And if you spend too much time in a place like that, you can get dragged down and your power level will be lowered and these beings will annoy you. And if, of course, you go to a higher power level, a higher place of power, you can gain power there, and you might even encounter some beings of knowledge and light who might help you, aid you in some way. So if you want a suntan, go out in the sunlight. If you want a suntan, don't stay inside. If you're seeking power and knowledge, you need to go to places that are healthy and happy and radiant. And you avoid places that aren't. And if you must go to them, you go to them in a very conservative way. You go to them when your power is up and your energy is tight. It's like going to war. You've got to be ready.